And from the southeast of England, we head north. It's just south of Darlington to the old airfield that is Croft Circuit. It's certainly a tricky, tight and twisty one, which hosts round 6 of the VMO TCUK for 2023, powered by VCO and thanks to Simply Race and Pixelate liveries. My name is Cameron Roger and I'm joined by Zach Sweeney for this 3 races for this evening. 15 laps is coming your way 3 times around this tricky circuit. And Zach, it's been a couple of weeks, so a couple of rounds I should say, since we were in the commentary box, but there's definitely a lot of action a couple of weeks ago at Brands Indy.
Yeah, I've missed it, it must be said. It's been, I'm quite surprised it's been nearly a month since we were in the booth, obviously, when we were at Oulton Park. Of course, Brands Indy has been since. What a fantastic race it's been there. And after which, it was Matt Richards once again extending his lead in the championship.
Yeah, he snuck a victory there in the second race, and he's having quite a healthy season, leading the way from Dan Hurlock, who's also having an impressive run. Thomas O'Leary is there in 3rd place, but some 62 points off the championship lead as we hit the halfway point in the series. John Munro in 4th place, Callum Cripps, who's had an up-and-down season, in 5th place. Dan Kell, Lewis Redshaw, Ross McGregor, Callum Wilson and Ryan Elliott round out your top 10 in the drivers' standing. So still a lot to be played for in this second half of the championship. The points are looking pretty close in that midfield. Here to the teams, though, Richards & Co. leading the way. Of course, their team manager and owner, Matt Richards, leading the way in the drivers, so of course leading the way in the teams as well. RSR coming in 2nd place, not too far ahead of Rocket Sim Sport, just 15 points between them. DMA in Honda there in 4th place. Drake are in 5th, Calamity, Team Butchie, independent team there. Kings Racing, Ballas Esports also independent. Scott Cervic in 9th place, before TR powered by Geeks Energy rounding out your top 10. So yeah, definitely a close championship as we come towards the 6th race of the season. Here is your spot guide, a few of the drivers to look out for. We actually have a couple of different drivers on the grid today, but I think that one of the bigger talking points between the rounds was the amount of grid penalties that we are seeing. The stewards definitely coming down quite harsh on some of these drivers. Yeah,
I think Aidan Millwood had enough of what he was seeing at some points. I mean, there's been a couple of times this season where we felt bad for him, and now he's decided to put the hammer down. We've got Locke, Elliott, Dowman, Redshaw, Munro, Wilson, all with a 5-place grid penalty, and then poor old Phil Garside has got himself a 10-place grid penalty. So, yeah, a very tough day ahead for them lot, but with the action that we usually see and plenty of tyre strategy in the mix, of course, over the 3 races, I'm sure it's not going to be the end of the world, and they've got plenty of opportunities to move their way forward.
And here is what we have for the remainder of the season today at Croft, before we go even further north into Scotland for Knockhill in a couple of weeks' time, before heading back down to the Midlands. We've got Donington and Silverstone, and of course back down to Brands, but this time for the GP track on the 11th of October for the annual season finale, as we see in this form of racing. 5 very different tracks. They all have their own little quirks, but certainly a nice round up to the season.
I think so, yeah. The second half of this season is going to be very, very good. I mean, and not to say the first half wasn't, but hopefully the second half will reach that standard and hopefully just give us that little bit better. I mean, as it stands, Matt Richards is doing such a good job in the Drivers' Championship. Hopefully Dan Hurlock and Thomas O'Leary can maybe close that gap a little bit over the next few rounds to give us that championship finale that we might like at Brands Hatch. But yeah, well, we can be hopeful. What we do know is we've got a few brilliant venues on the line, and hopefully 3 fantastic races here in Croft.
Yeah, so as Zach says there, 3 races coming your way, the standard sort of touring car format. So the first race, we've had qualifying just in warm-up now. We'll get you the results in just a few moments. But yeah, the qualifying has the ballast already from the championship. So the ballast is quite harsh, actually, 75 kilos for P1, going down to 9 kilos for P10 in increments. And yeah, that for qualifying in race 1 comes from the championship standings. So those who are high up in the standings, like Matt Richards, he'll have those 75 kilos coming onto this before we move to race 2, which is just a result. The grid is the result of race 1, but then the ballast gets changed around to the result. So if you get the less ballast in qualifying, you get a good result in race 1. You then have to use that in race 2 before we get to the reverse grid race, and we get the spinny wheel on the screen to choose which grid position is reversed for that third race. So definitely a nice format, Zach, and we've seen it work out and be very entertaining over the course of the first 5 rounds this season.
Yeah, it's really played quite nicely, and obviously I like the randomization of the spinny wheel. As crude as it might be, it's a very good way to decide which gets decided. It can be anywhere from as low as 6, the top 6 get reversed, to anywhere as up to 12. So anywhere in that range is a bit of a grey area because you don't necessarily know how hard to push. If you're in P7, it could be a really good start for you in the reverse grid race. You could benefit quite nicely off it, or you could be 1 place off starting from pole position. You don't really know, which means you've always tried to maybe got to push for more and always giving the drivers a bit of an incentive to go forward. And yeah, obviously as well with the tyre choices and using their soft compound tyre choice, a number of drivers already running out of races to use the soft compound tyre in. I mean, for example, Chris Butcher, he's run out of race 1s to use that soft compound tyre for, which means he's forced to use it over the course of race 2 and 3 for the rest of the season. So again, that tyre strategy, while they're not physically going into the pit lane, still playing a massive factor into their results on track.
Oh, absolutely, because there's definitely quite a big time difference between lap time difference between the option and the prime tyres as warm-up comes to an end. And one thing I was just checking out for the standings as well, Hurlock is second place, and we're saying what's about 39 points off Matt Richards. So that's a decent way, but he did miss the whole of round 2 at Snetterton. So with 20 points for a win, he could have easily got sort of that 39 points over that Snetterton weekend, and he would be up there with Matt Richards. So definitely he's a driver I would say is one to look out for in the second half of the season. Got 2 second places last time out at Brands Indy. Matt Richards only getting the 1 victory there. So definitely a tricky sort of format that we have, and one that the drivers need to work out what's best to attack. Do you want to be faster in race 1 and 3 and then lose out in 2, or do you want to be sort of faster in race 2, but of course you have the weight for race 3?
Yeah, it's that compromise, and again, I guess it's circumstantial from driver to driver. We have, and we were talking about this shift that we're seeing from Matt Richards. Instead of going for his usual, maybe going for the option in race 2 or 3, he's now taking it in race 1 because obviously race 1 is where he's got the most ballast. He's carrying in that championship ballast, so he's going to have the 75 kilos. He's maybe going to take the hit in race 1 ever so slightly with the ballast, but the soft compound tyre should still give him a good result. He's then going to take the hit in race 2, hopefully for them to see the result again in race 3. So instead of having 1 good race 2, he's now got 2 decent race 1 and race 3, which should, for him, hopefully, see him extend the gap in the championship to Dan Hurlock. But yeah, it's incredibly close. I mean, looking at the results of Richards and Hurlock, both have 4 wins. Richards has 8 podiums, Hurlock has 7, and you couldn't really put much more between the two of them. And, well, hopefully they go toe-to-toe once again today.
So the drivers go out for the formation lap for the first race of the evening. Here is your grid today at Croft. Dan Kell, Ross McGregor on the front row, Dan Hurlock and Matt Richards in your top 4. So they are 4 of the big drivers up at the front. Callum Cripps and Thomas O'Leary rounding out your top 6, with Callum Wilson and Matthew Chogwin in your top 8. Very, very strong grid towards the front, and it's so close. The lap time's just a couple of tenths separating the top 10. Stephen Haley had a good result last time. Jack London in 10th place, Scott Cervic in 11th, and Jack Nichols for Kings Racing in 12th place. Tobias Blumsheen for Rocket Simsport, followed by Luke Mitchell, and the other Rocket driver of John Munro there in 15th place. That's a bit low down for him. And Phil Morby in 16th place. Scott Mitchell-Marm is in 17th, followed by Ben Willis and Louis Hartley in 19th place. And the 75 of Anthony Hilton from Mellow Motorsports rounds out your top 20. Johannes Leppert and Matt Allington, new driver to the grid. YTF Racing there, the number 28, with Adam Christopher, also a new driver, being added in with Phil Garside for 24th place. Scott Morris, who didn't really get a competitive lap time in qualifying, and Adam Locke round out your final place on the grid.
What a grid that is, how incredibly close it is. At the moment they are taking to their formation up, not the longest one here at Croft of course, but trying to make the most of warming the tyres, warming the brakes, and getting themselves into that own mindset, because we know how chaotic these starts can be for the VMO TCUK Championship. So yeah, really trying to get themselves into that right headspace, especially sort of if you're in Dan Kell's position, because he's a driver that started towards the front quite a couple of times this season, to be fair to him, and he's going to be hoping to convert this pole position into a good start in the evening in race 1.
Yeah, 15 laps of racing to come this evening. 3 times, of course, for the 3 races. So 45 laps of action, and who is going to come out on top with that is looking pretty close in the championship. And as we enter the second half of the season, the drivers will be knowing that this is a crucial time to get those points to be in with a shout of some top positions when we get to Brands GP for the final race of the season in October. As the final driver, Adam Locke, lines up onto the grid, will get the 3 red lights, and then Dan Kell will be taking it away from pole position. He's got Ross McGregor alongside him. Who's going to get the launch? A long run down towards the first braking zone. It's certainly going to be a difficult one, and the lights go out, and away we go for the first race of the evening. Looks like it's been an absolutely horrific start for Ross McGregor. He's going to be under attack from Dan Herlock down in towards turn 1. He comes back on the braking zone though to retake that second place as they go single file in towards the first couple of corners. Contacted behind, that might be Hartley or O'Leary going for a spin. One of the Hondas is going around as the drivers try and work their way through. Cars off in turn 2 as well.
Yeah, I think it might have been Stephen Haley losing a couple of places. I think actually he's been all right. He's stationary in 13th place, but definitely a lot of carnage and chaos. Even more in front of Adam Locke, who's had to slam on the brakes and take to the grass in order to avoid the carnage. There's more in front of him. I think Jack Nichols taken off as well, or at least maybe his teammate. Jack Nichols actually able to stay up there in 11th place, but Adam Locke is, well, surrounded by carnage and chaos, let's put it that way. And in the opening moments, he did really well to stay out of contact.
Yeah, I think that was Leppert getting spun around there as we came through the chicane. Very easy to do in these front-wheel drive cars, of course. All the pressure, all the weight on those front tyres, which means the rear can be very loose at certain points of the track. But the front, or 5 or 6, starting to pull away from the mid-pack, is really starting to spread out. Dan Kell, of course, trying to pull away. And being 6th in the championship, he hasn't got loads and loads of ballast, so he should be fairly fast in this first race. Ross McGregor now under huge attack from Dan Herlock as we come through the hairpin.
Yep, a decently sort of heavy braking zone. Unfortunately, it's not off the back of a long straight, so you're not on the brakes for very long, but you can see how hard this fight is. Jack London for Calamity Motorsport, a good day in the office, I suppose, for the forwards of Dan Kell and Jack London, both inside the top 10 and, of course, leading the way in the race. But he's got to defend off of Jack Nichols, who's going to be very eager to get himself back inside that top 10, but no way through in the opening sector here at Croft. You've really got to wait and bide your time for the perfect opportunity.
And John Munro's not had a good side. He's dropped down to 18th place. He's lost 3 places on that opening lap, and that is not going to help him. He was looking at, he was 2nd, 3rd in championship at 1 point earlier in the season, but he's had a few bad rounds, now down into 4th. So these next couple of rounds are going to be important if he wants to battle for that podium place at the end of the season. As we work our way through the Jim Clark S's down towards Sunny and Sunny out, one of the obviously the faster corners that we have. Very tricky, all sliding on the rear end there from Herlock. He's really starting to push as he feels the pressure from Richards behind.
Yeah, of course, the two of them championship rivals, and Herlock, despite the fact he's down 3 races, he's still within touching distance of the championship lead, so is going to want to make the most of Matt Richards behind. However, the championship leader is taking his option tyre for this race, which means he should, in theory, be a little bit more punchy in terms of grip, however, is carrying more ballast, so in theory, maybe should have a more of a balanced race. I mean, he's qualified on the second row and is still in touching distance, potentially of second, but Donington really putting in the work at the front, also putting in some work is Phil Garside the long way round, a little bit too far, I think, taking off onto the grass there on the exit of the hairpin.
Yeah, that is not the fastest line onto the straight, unfortunately dropping down just a little bit. Oh, huge contact in the braking zone. Hilton to the left-hand side. Garside also coming to the left-hand side of the track. Oh, that's not a good rejoin as well. No. 21 and Mitchell. Luke Mitchell gets involved there. That is so unlucky for him. The number 21 machine, and Garside has not had a great couple of 100 metres there.
Yeah, no, not great at all. And what could have been a fantastic move, he completely ignores the chicane as well, which, I mean, fair play to him. Because probably the car wasn't going to be too eager to responding to that. But yeah, to be spun around on a straight line and then unfortunately rejoining the path of Mitchell, not the way he would have wanted things to go. As we take a look, I think in the opening lap, this is Stephen Haley, yeah, sending the move to the inside. Is the car that goes round. Oh, and then into the side. I think that was the initial bit that put Mitchell on the back foot.
Yeah, it certainly was. As a couple of the rocket cars getting involved there. That's McGregor. It might have even been how Monroe lost some time there. Not the ideal situation. And those tyre stacks on the middle of sort of turn 2 and Hawthorne Bend and the chicane as well. They are actually solid. So they're literally concrete walls. So that's why some of the drivers are trying to avoid them. But now on towards lap 4, coming towards the braking zone for turn number 1. Seems pretty single file as it stands. No major movers up towards the front, but sometimes we do see this in race 1. This is a little bit more consistent because it goes in the qualifying order. It's when we get later on and the ballast goes around and we have fast drivers in behind. That is when we start seeing the crazy overtakes. But for now, a pretty calm opening third of this race.
Yeah, I mean, take out lap 1 and from there it's actually been fairly tame. A couple of spins, couple of sends, but yeah, because as you say, everyone's sort of, I suppose, where they should be on the grid after qualifying. Obviously, you're going to have anomalies and grid penalties and things like we have today. But for the most part, everyone's where they should be in terms of pace. So there's no, championship leaders trying to make moves on back markers or anything like that. It's all fairly as it should be. But Donington is running out in front, second clear. We're going to take another look, though. This is, I think, what happened to Phil Garside. Anthony Hilton, you can see he gets pushed wide. And if I was Hilton, I'd be loving this because it's essentially a free move. But unfortunately, it wasn't the case.
Yeah, coming towards brake zone. Is it Garside coming to left? I think it is. There's a bit of contact. It added a bit of a wiggle to Hilton's car. I think that might be a little bit more on Garside. Of course, that is for Aidan Millward and the steward and crew to sort out. But there was definitely, Hilton was just going left hard against the wall.
Yeah, I don't really know what to say about it, apart from the fact it's a straight line and you should be travelling straight, not into each other. But I suppose it happens naturally. For whatever reason, you just gravitate towards each other, and as you're going that speed, just one tap and it unfortunately spirals into a domino effect of more and more contact. Phil Morby trying to move his way past Tobias Blumachine, and then another look. We'll see now. Look at Phil Garside's steering inputs on the right-hand side. Does he drift over ever so slightly?
Yeah, he's steering straight, but I think his car's just slightly pointed to that left-hand side. It's all big send there up at Tower Bend as we're going. It's 4 cars trying to battle for position as we come up to one of the fastest parts of the track. It looks like Phil Morby's having a solid race up into P12. He's made some good places from the start. Ben Willis in behind also having some nice places, probably getting a bit fortunate on that first lap with all the cars spinning in front. Tobias Blumachine in behind and Louis Harley following for that 4-car battle.
Yeah, it's turning into a very, very nice battle indeed, and we've still got 10 laps of it. Looking to the inside was Willis, not quite able to find a way through on Morby just yet. The 14 machine was able to keep his composure quite nicely and keep the 85 at bay, but the fight continues, and in Willis's position, I suppose, he needs to try and get Morby behind him, because as it stands, he's looking forwards and backwards, and that's never a good position to be in.
Yeah, and I will say it's a little bit quiet. That's up towards the front. We've had 6 DNFs from this race so far. It's even 7. So we've had Allington, Locke, Haley, Garside, Luke Mitchell, Scott Morris, and Adam Christopher all out of this race in the opening third. Hopefully they just regain themselves and come back for the second race in a few minutes time, of course. But first, we need to see this battle. Phil Morby holding on. Ben Willis getting a little bit of slipstream, maybe use a bit of hybrid down to the inside. He's going to dive it late. We've seen that a few times, but he can't quite get the front nose of his car alongside.
Yeah, not quite able to be late enough on the brakes, but Morby just has it covered, is late enough. And yeah, unfortunately, Willis has not quite been able to find a way past forward now. And as I say, would want to get a hurry on because the pressure from Bloomsheen and Hartley behind is definitely not going to be too attractive to Willis, and he'd much rather be leading this train. Unfortunately, they have got a bit of a gap up to Jack Nicholls, so not much more in that respect. Dan Kell is now being shown in 11th, 12th. Has he had an issue?
I think he must. He's dropping down 15th place yet. Dan Kell dropping down the way. Yeah, there he is off the track. That's miles off the track as well. I wonder if there was some contact. So McGregor takes the lead. Dan Herlock second place. Matt Richards is in your third place. So pole position drive always. We've got Monroe around as well. Loads of things happening in the complex.
Yeah. Well, the race leader of Dan Kell, of course, was leading by what, about a second by the time when we last checked in on him. Would love to know what happened to him there. And then, of course, John Monroe, unfortunately having a bit of a spin. He's usually fairly sideways. We'll take a look. It seems to be all by himself because McGregor is a couple of car lengths back. Unless there's an issue, he's now running his way through. Either his wheel disconnected or he just forgot to turn.
I highly doubt that he forgot to turn, so I think there might have been, as you're right, a technical issue. At least that's also what we're hearing from the stewards and race control. I think that's what happened as well. Definitely looks like that was very weird. Got to the braking zone, but then basically just went straight. It was a very interesting one. But look at this three-car battle for the lead as well. They would quickly take a replay. What happened with John Monroe going way too fast into complex, gets the rear tire on the grass, then he goes for a spin as Dan Kell rejoins just right next to him.
Yeah, Dan Kell's been plagued by a couple of wheel issues this season already, and I think it has cost him a number of good results. As Herlock has found his way in 5th, now 4th, he's fighting away. But yeah, at the back of this train, and Matt Richards is in a very good position to take the win here.
I wonder if there was an issue there again coming into the complex. Matt Richards was so close to Herlock coming out of sunning out that time around. And yeah, this is the images that we saw before the replay. Oh, almost 3 wide in towards the braking zone. Herlock, I think, had contact on the inside with McGregor, but was also potentially pushed from behind. Manages to save it really well. Cripps comes through. And then there's O'Leary going side by side. Scott Server getting in the background as well. And you're going to see here Herlock dive up the inside to regain that place. So 4th position. But Herlock there, championship rival with Matt Richards, losing a couple of positions. Are those points going to be crucial? Let's see, because Matt Richards is now going for the lead. Yeah,
and of course this is going to put him in good stead for the rest of the evening as well. Matt Richards very much in a good position right now, and well, we'll wait and see if that's going to be the case. And Herlock's off again. He just went flying off the circuit there, and unfortunately he's rejoined the circuit and he's down to 8th place. So another issue has plagued the way of the man 2nd place in the championship.
Yeah, now London and Nicholls get past. We've got another drive, Zach Cripps dropping down. What is going on here at Croft? It was calm for about 5 laps. Now all sorts of things are happening. Kell, Herlock, now Cripps, all from the top battles are going out of this race potential, or at least going back. Cripps is obviously having some huge issues. He's out into the cornfields.
Yeah, McGregor's lost the lead down to 4th place. We'll take a look as to what happened. Just ducking, diving, finding the gap. There's Herlock in front. This is what saw him go off. Matt Richards up in a second, so maybe something to be looked at there. I'm sure Herlock is not going to be too happy about that one. And then back to the live action, Jack Nicholls, after being 11th place on lap 1 and 2, now finds himself inside the top 5, which is a mega result for him. However, he has got to try and keep London, Herlock and Wilson all at bay for the final 5 laps of this race.
All the DNFs that we've had from this race, we have Bloomsheen, Cripps added on to that. Cho wins a lap down, so he's obviously had some damage repairs or something in the pit lane. And as you say, Jack Nicholls now on the screen, taking advantage of all of this. Some good driving, but also getting some free positions up into 5th place. I think it's about 12th place he started, so 7 gained already. Here it is, Cripps going wide. There's Herlock in the background. Has he blown his engine? I think he's blown his engine, smoke coming out the back of that car.
Yeah, that is not fun. I'm guessing these cars don't have downshift protection. Could he have just spammed it down too quick?
Yeah, I think just too fast on the downshifts, over revving the engine. And unfortunately, that is not the fastest way to drive, because even though you might gain just that tiny bit, a few thousands, a couple hundreds in the braking zone, if you DNF and you blow up your engine, then the amount of points that you're losing from that is absolutely crazy. So Scott Cervic and O'Leary, so this is absolutely all change in the front. Matt Richards has had further issues. Thomas O'Leary, as we come onto lap 10, leading the way from Scott Cervic. That was a battle for P5 and 6. All sorts of things happening up towards the front. Here is Dan Herlock just going too wide through Barcroft onto the grass, similar to what John Munro did a couple of corners later. So absolute flip-flop race we're seeing here at Croft.
Yeah, and just got confirmation. Yeah, of course, these cars don't really have downshift protection. Some people might be familiar with it. If you try and do it, the car will beep at you and say, "No, you can't do that." It physically won't let you downshift. In these, it's fair game, and essentially you're just free to money shift. You go to too low of a gear, spins too much, car revs up and pop, and that is as easy as it is. It can be just maybe being too nervous, your left hand shaking a little bit on the downshifts, and your race is over. Or you touch the grass and go flying off at high speed, which is the case for Dan Herlock, who, to be fair, still continue on and still in 6th place. We've got 5 for the lead, however. This time it's O'Leary and Sovic, and, well, O'Leary did a fantastic job of holding the lead. However, Sovic goes off and wide and brings McGregor back into the mix.
What on earth is happening at Croft today? This is crazy. Another battle for the lead and another driver going off the track. Cervic actually saved that pretty well compared to Munro. We saw a couple laps ago, maybe the rear-wheel drive helping that a little bit, but either way, good save from the driver there for Ballas Esports. He's now got Rocket Simsports' Ross McGregor coming up behind, who led the race for a part, but is now trying to come back in. Of course, Matt Richards as well is now trying to recover those places from 4th place. Still 2 seconds covering the top 4. Very close battles. It's all over the grass. O'Leary is coming out of the chicane.
Yeah, O'Leary doing his best in order to try and defend that race lead. Of course, he's only taken 1 win so far this season. It was, of course, race 3 at Oulton Park, so he'd like to double his tally for the season, and, well, has been given a perfect opportunity to do it right now. However, Scott Sovic is going to put him under a ton of pressure as we're on lap 11 of 15 here at Croft. Matt Richards trying to recover and maybe get himself back into race-winning contention. First up, though, is, of course, McGregor just ahead of him as they run their way through the double right-hand complex, and, well, he's trying to at least get himself onto the podium, because what a perfect opportunity this would be for more points in the championship on a day that Herlock has had a number of issues.
And remember, this race, of course, is the starting order for race 2. So those who have had issues will be starting from the back. And that's especially bad for people like Cripps, who are, of course, one of the top 5, top 10 drivers in the standings. Blowing your engine means the best he's going to start is P18. And that is really not going to helping him at all. Dan Kell, who had issues earlier, he's down in that 12th place. Munro is in behind him in 13th. So all change. And even Hilton was having contact earlier. He's in 11th place. Such is the way that this race is going on. To lap 12 now. It's just 4 laps to go, including this one. O'Leary still leading the way. Cervic is not letting him go, but McGregor is slightly dropping off the back of these top 2.
Yeah, ever so slightly, and that is, of course, not going to be to the pleasure of Matt Richards at all, who is going to be hoping that McGregor could bring him onto the back of the top 2. However, I think they're both going to be riding on the fact that the top 2 could potentially battle in the closing stages to then bring themselves back into contention. But for now, it seems that O'Leary and Sovic have got it covered. Thomas O'Leary looking fairly composed, fairly clean in his driving, but Sovic, after that mistake, I think seems hungry as ever to close the gap again.
Yeah, Cervic's been having a pretty solid season so far. It's just he's only done 3 events, which is why he's a little bit further down in the standings. So we're wanting to get a proper podium result round the outside of the complex up into the hairpin. No, not quite, but at least putting O'Leary offline a little bit. Such a tight hairpin, you have to remember as well. So you can easily get a bad run. But coming onto the front straight to start lap 13 now. Cervic is really putting on the pressure, but a bit behind them though, side by side, Jack Nichols, Dan Herlock, side by side up towards the braking zone for turn number 1. Nichols trying to hold on to that 5th place. Almost been a contact between them, all the 3 rear-wheel drive cars in formation, as we have Callum Wilson in behind. Further contact coming through Hawthorne there in towards the chicane, and Nichols somehow holding on to P5.
Yeah, he's done a really good job of defending that at 5th place. He's been obviously promoted into this position and been so consistent, probably one of the most consistent of the top 10 in all fairness. Not that that's a very high standard in this race. Bit of a lock-up for Nichols, and that does allow Herlock to close the gap ever so slightly it does not allow him an opportunity to go for the move. But yeah, Herlock is going to want every point he can get out of this race.
Yeah, it certainly is. The championship is not in his favour as it stands. Matt Richards a couple of places up the road, and talking of him, he's looking to get Ross McGregor up in towards complex side by side almost again for the race lead. The top four putting on the action here at Croft, which is absolutely great to see. Servik coming through the complex once again, tries to get a run towards final corner. Oh, further contact with Herlock and Jack Nichols. They go off into the complex. We had about 5 or 6 cars off at that corner, and this time the two Infinities go around. This has been an absolutely crazy race at Croft.
Yeah, of course, you know, both still inside the top 10, but yeah, not where they would have wanted to be at all. And it's unfortunate for Nichols because it was a really good defence up until that point. We'll take a look as to how it happened. Nichols, of course, in the blue and yellow. Herlock just in behind the RSR Infinity, and just a massive squeeze takes them both onto the grass, and well, both off into the infield.
That is the biggest squeeze, as you say, I've ever seen in my life. Nichols leaving absolutely no room, and Herlock going for a gap that also was basically not there, and closing very fast. So not the ideal situation. That shows you just how hard they fight. Let's look at this again from Herlock's on board. He goes to the left-hand side. There's about 90% of a car width. There's just about a car width now. Then Nichols closes him off completely. Of course, a bit of contact rotating the car as well, but still, that was some hard battling there between the pair of them. Of course, they go off. Herlock is in 7th, Nichols down to 9th.
Well, that, again, I suppose you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. Thomas O'Leary and Sovic having a very fun game out at the front, but they've got to be careful of McGregor and Richards closing the gap. Bit of a battle in behind as semi-defensive into the hairpin goes McGregor, and he retains 3rd place. But O'Leary and Sovic both pushing the absolute limits onto the penultimate lap of this race. Now the final, lap 15 of 15. It all comes down to this. O'Leary's defended for the best part of maybe 6 or 7 laps, and now he's got to string it all together for one final time here in race 1.
Who's going to get the first 20 points of the evening? O'Leary's held on for the previous 5 laps or so. Servic's been doing a good job, but O'Leary seems to be very good in his defence. Servic doesn't need to look in his mirrors too much. McGregor isn't close enough, and Richards I don't think is going to be doing too much there from 4th place, but O'Leary now just half a lap to go.
Not long left lap to go at all, and I think O'Leary has punched it into overdrive a little bit. He's been able to build a gap of a couple of car lengths and has now stretched his advantage ahead of Sovic to about half a second or so. Matt Richards is going to be pushing as hard as he can to add to his podium tally of the season, and well, he's got Ross McGregor just ahead of him if he wants to be able to do that, pushing as hard as he possibly can, searching for the gap, but unfortunately no way through as it stands for the championship leader. Thomas O'Leary, if he keeps it clean, I think this is his to lose.
Yeah, he's definitely got a couple of car lengths there, and for Matt Richards, 4th place is still a good job. It's still extending his lead in the championship by 3 places as it stands to Herlock. Contact as he come through the complex, maybe a move in towards the final corner.
He's gone for it.
Huge send down the inside. Contact. McGregor leaves him no space. Side by side to the line. It's going to be O'Leary taking the first race of the evening. Servic in 2nd place. Who is going to get 3rd though? It looks like it's going to be McGregor just about on the exit off the final corner. Matt Richards, he tried everything there to get past, but that was just a little bit too far back, and I think in the end possibly just gave that place up, because that would have been a bit of a dirty move in the head.
Yeah, he licked it, he stuck it, he sent it, and unfortunately it wasn't quite delivered in the end for Richards. It was a very good effort, but McGregor just had it covered and was like, nah mate, you're not doing that, not today, Sonny Jim. And he finds himself taking that 3rd place. Hopefully we see more of that over the course of the evening. Race 2 and 3 yet to come, and a very chaotic way to open up the evening here in Croft, it must be said. But well, Thomas O'Leary is going to be elated as to the fact of the number of people that had issues.
Yeah, what a crazy race. 17 drivers finishing. That is not the type of stats that we want with 26 starting this race. We've got Sherwin here coming through the final couple of corners. He's 2 laps down, so fair play to him. So continuing after obviously having some crashes and some issues, but that is race 1 done here at Croft. Oh my God, what an opening to the evening. This is going to be a great spectacle, I think, for the next 2 races coming up. Here is your results though. Thomas O'Leary from Scott Servic in that battle in the final couple of laps. Ross McGregor just holding on to Matt Richards for 4th place, for 3rd I should say. Matt Richards in 4th. Callum Wilson there, the other Richards and co-driver inside your top 5. Jack London, solid result from him in P6. Dan Herlock, after all of the issues, somehow ends up in P7. Phil Morby in 8th. That's a great result for him. Jack Nichols will be disappointed after being up as high as P5, ending in P9. Louis Hartley rounding out your top 10 after 15 laps of action. Anthony Hilton is in 11th place. Dan Kell, your pole sitter, in 12th. John Munro, 13th. Leppett, who was around on that first lap, in 14th. Mitchell Marm, Ben Willis, Churgwin round out your drivers, finishing the race at all of your DNFs. Cripps, Blumshine and Allington on debut this season, starting with a DNF. Adam Locke, Stephen Haley, Phil Garside, Luke Mitchell, Scott Morris and Adam Christopher also on debut in P26. That was some absolute scenes, and it is just going to continue. So we'll be back in a few minutes for the second race of the evening. Welcome back to Croft, and that first race of the evening was absolutely chaotic. That was quite a spectacle to see, but the action doesn't stop there. We still got two races to go this evening. We'll come to this race 2, which is just the result of that first race, but the ballast changed around. Instead of the championship standings, it also goes in line with the result from race 1. Myself, Cameron Roger, and Zach Sweeney alongside me, following you on for this round number 6 of the VMO TCUK for 2023, powered by VCO. Of course, thanks to Pixelate Liveries and Simply Racing. Zach, that was pretty hectic. Hopefully it calms down a little bit. Let's see what happens for race 2.
Yeah, fingers crossed it's going to be maybe a little bit calmer, but still the same level of excitement and sense. Let's try and see if we can compromise it a little bit and maybe have less carnage, but this, more excitement over the course of race 2, which, maybe hopefully there should be. But yeah, race 1 was definitely one we're not going to forget any time soon. And well, bring on race number 2. Let's see what we got in store.
Yeah, absolute scenes. We had all the drivers going off the track, and at pretty much every corner of this Croft race circuit as well. There aren't loads of corners around this track, but all of them were being used and being used too much in certain ones. Especially, Zach, that area, the complex was quite something. We saw a lot of drivers, though. We'll just get to the grid for this second race. Of course, formation lap coming your way. It looks like of course, Richards and Co's car there. As it stands, a couple more drivers to come on to the grid, and they'll be going for the formation lap. But it was certainly such a difficult race to work out what was going on, and hopefully they all just calmed down that little bit. Of course, with the ballast that's going to be added into this one, it's something that is going to sort of change the dynamic a little bit. So there's going to be the drivers at the front, they've got the most ballast. They'll be slower during this race. Thomas O'Leary, Scott Cervic from your front rows. Ross McGregor and Matt Richards follow in behind. Matt Richards, of course, your championship leader, and will be looking fast today. Callum Wilson and Jack London round out your top 6. Dan Hurlock and Phil Morby, your top 8. Dan Hurlock second in the championship. He needs to get some points. And once again, he'll have less ballast this race. Jack Nichols and Louis Harley round out the drivers with the success ballast. Anthony Hamilton 11th, Dan Kell in your 12th place. Pole position man, but he'll be looking to get into those stay in those reverse grid spots, I should say, for race 3. John Monroe 13th place, and Johannes Leppit, Scott Mitchell-Marr 15th, and Ben Willis in 16th place. All these drivers we wanted to just sneak their way to reverse grid pole. Churgwin and Cripps round out your top 18. Tobias Blumschein and Adam Christopher inside your top 20. Then Adam Locke, Stephen Haley inside your top 22. Phil Garside and Luke Mitchell for your top 24. And then just one row remain to date. And the final driver is going to be Ryan Elliott. So it seems like we've had one of the drivers dropping out of this race. I think it might be Scott Morris. Yeah, Scott Morris hasn't shown up for this second race. So Zach, is certainly going to be a different dynamic coming into this one. What are your predictions for it?
Well, I don't know, because you can't really put your finger on anything exactly to happen. You could say, oh yeah, driver X would win, or maybe driver Y would win, or whatever. You just never know, especially after off the back of race 1. You can't put your finger on it. What I can sort of maybe say for certain is that there is going to be battles, there is going to be carnage, there is going to be chaos. There is always going to be something to look at, whether it's the fight for first or the fight for 21st. We don't know. All we do know is, as I say, is there's going to be plenty to look forward to over the course of the next 15 laps. And well, Thomas O'Leary, he's one of those drivers that you can you can tell that once he's in a good mood, once he's confident, he's not really going to shy away from it. However, he has now got to carry 75 kilos of ballast, which, well, we'll see how eager he is to defend, or how capable he is of defending with that extra weight.
And of course, with the tyre options coming into it, Matt Richards, he was actually on the options in that previous race. That is why, another reason why he was looking so fast. But Ross McGregor in third place, he's got his options this time around. And it's certainly going to be a bit of a difference coming into this battle. So let's see how this one works out. Coming towards the second race of the evening, round 6 of TCUK for 2023. We've got Thomas O'Leary, Scott Cervic on the front row. Let's see them resume their battle that they had in race 1. Race 2 gets underway. Who gets the launch down towards turn number 1? It looks like it might be Scott Cervic. He's looking very strong, coming towards the braking zone for turn number 1. Can he take the lead all the way around the outside? But Thomas O'Leary holds it down to the inside. We're also getting drivers more spin to the background. Phil Morby goes around. Ross McGregor comes up the inside in towards the chicane. He's going to be taking second place away from Cervic.
What a start that is. And, well, absolute carnage in the background. Unfortunately, Morby having a bit of a spin, but into the chicane, there's even more carnage just ahead of Ryan Elliott. People going left and right, ducking and diving, trying to find some space, but a good start from Thomas O'Leary. Sort of an even better one, I suppose, from McGregor, moving his way into second. Now Matt Richards up to third. What seemed initially to be a fantastic start from Cervic is, well, very quickly falling backwards. Dan Herlock there on his softer compound tyre ride is in the background as well as spin.
Yeah, Louis Hartley, I think it is, in a Hyundai, going around. He was up into about 10th place. He's dropping all the way down the field. That is such a shame for him. Coming in towards the Jim Clark S is just getting onto the grass. More cars off here, coming to Sonny in. That might actually be him still recovering. No, it's not. It's one of the other cars, I think, having a spin. That might be Leppit, his teammate, going around. Not their best day for them, as Tobias Blumstein has also gone off, coming down in towards Sonny in. Absolute scenes once again here at Croft. The carnage continues in towards race 2.
Yeah, these guys haven't really taken much of a cool down in between races. They are still as punchy as ever. And Matt Richards moves his way into third place. But look at Dan Herlock. He is flying in this race. Of course, taking a bit of a hit in race 1, obviously on the harder compounded tyres, and then means he's got less ballast here for race 2. So yeah, he should be looking very, very punchy. But then that should mean that he might again go back to a slower race 3. So we'll wait and see what championship implications this might have. Nearly going side by side in the background is Dan Kell, who is hoping for less wheel issues in race 2 as well. He picks his way back up into 5th place, and once again trying to close into the fight for what is now 3rd place. Matt Richards on the defensive.
Thomas O'Leary, Dan Herlock, Dan Kell, Stephen Haley, loads of drivers on the option tyres. Here is Luke Mitchell at the start on his grid box, looking pretty nicely at the moment. What is he going to get up to coming towards the green flag? It's going to be, just doesn't pull away actually. Maybe has some issues there, not able to get away from the grid.
That is really unfortunate. I mean, he's in gear, he's just got no power. It's probably, I mean, he's got steering, so maybe his pedals have had an issue, I suppose.
Not sure. A bit of a weird one to work out. There's Herlock down the inside in towards the hairpin. No, I thought he was going to have a bit of a dive. Richards manages to hold on and not have any sort of defence that time around. But this is championship implications. Remember, Herlock is chasing down Richards. He missed a round, so he's losing a lot of points from that. Had he been there, he probably would be leading the championship. Actually, he's had such a strong season so far, but now needs to start getting these points over Richards in the second half of the season. Richards absolutely sliding it through Hawthorne in towards the chicane and holding on to 3rd place for now.
Yeah, but for how much longer? Because Herlock is closing in a bit by bit, and lap by lap he's going to be chipping away ever so slightly. I mean, the gap is basically nothing anyway. Here's Jack Nichols, who had an unfortunate end to race 1, was looking pretty good for a top 5. Unfortunately, contact, I think in the end it was maybe with Herlock, I think in the end, and then saw himself, I think, finish 7th, and now finds himself in P9. So Jack Nichols, on a day where his pace is looking fairly decent and consistently inside the top 10, there's still more to be had from the 29.
Yeah, I definitely think there is. He's seemingly on a bit of a tear this time around. But look how all of these cars, they're so close together. It's so easy to go up or down positions. Up the inside, maybe into that corner where he had contact last time around. All the way around the outside is going to be, unfortunately for John Munro, 2 races in a row. He goes off at the complex this time, even harder, into the wall. And he's going to be dropping down to the back of the field.
That is such a shame. Wow. Well, I suppose the race 2 drama has hit here on lap 4 of 15, and well, we've already got a couple of people out of this race, or at the very least out of contention in this race, and we're not even a third of the way through yet, so expect more. And well, yeah, we've still got the next 11 and a bit laps left to go of this race, which is plenty more action to indulge in. And then, of course, race 3 as well, which, yeah, is just going to add even more onto the huge pile of chaos that we've got here for Croft. And, well, hopefully this lead fight that's now queuing up behind McGregor is going to keep it nice and clean.
And Dan Kell, 12th place on the grid. Of course, pole position man in race 1. He's all over the back of this battle for the lead. He can get a strong result here. Of course, we'll have the reverse grid coming up, so maybe actually his P5 is looking good. But as ever, you need to get the points on the table. It's not good necessarily to do a strategic move like that, but he's coming in at least. But so is Dan Herlock, all over the back of Richards. Of course, the softer compound tyres, but also less weight in that car for RSR. So also going for the team's championship against the Richards & Co Racing, but as well as the drivers' championship. This is the battle to look out for over the remainder of the race. But of course, there's drivers up and down the field. Scott Cervic, he had a bad start, dropped down to 6th place. He's now got Callum Wilson all up the back of him, coming towards turn number 1. But also Dan Herlock is getting close for 3rd place once more.
Yeah, he looked to the inside there, trying to go for the up and under, heading his way in towards turn number 2. Unfortunately for him, Richards was able to close the door and very well defend that 3rd place. But now we've got a bit of a run towards Tower Bend. And in the slipstream, you can see Daniel Herlock forcing the champion to go defensive. The RSR machine goes to the outside. Has he got the agility to go the long way round? A bit of a slide on the exit and invites Dan Kell on the way through. And the Clementi driver, well, he's not going to be waiting around for an invitation. He finds his way up into 4th place.
I thought Herlock was going to be absolutely sliding off the track like we saw him do a couple of times last race. He managed to save that one very, very late on the brakes, but does, as you say, drop a place to Dan Kell as the Ford works his way up into 4th place. Coming down into Sunny, and once again, such a tight corner. Cervic goes a bit wide. Wilson goes a bit tight, actually sliding the rear end with Jack London in behind. Then we've got the 2 Kings racing. First is going to be Jack Nichols all over the back there of the Calamity driver, coming through the complex. Such close racing here at Croft, and you can just see how easy it is with these tight corners. You can really get a run on someone up the inside, maybe for Wilson. Goes into the back of Cervic onto the front straight. Side by side it is.
Yeah, but a bit of a slide there from Wilson unfortunately puts an end to that. But Cervic unfortunately continuing to go backwards for him after what was initially a really good start. I think the outside line into turn 1 has put him on this downward spiral through the back end of the top 10, and now they're queuing up behind Wilson, ready to take their turn at the BMW driver, who works his way through the chicane and is hopefully for him going to be able to keep that 6th place. But he's got to be very careful because Wilson, London, Nichols all waiting in the wings ready to attack, but also Callum Wilson has to be careful, and that's the problem when you queue up behind maybe a slower driver or a driver that's going to be slightly easier to overtake. It is, well, you've got 4 cars behind you all waiting to have their turn, and if you don't get a move on, Cam, they're all going to take you as easy pickings.
Absolutely. If you start getting overtaken, especially for Cervic here, one reason why he's struggling is because he's probably not used to this weight. It's a lot of weight to add on, even with 2nd place. It's quite a big difference from your normal weight that you have, and if you're not used to it, you can start slowing down. And also, actually, just generally, the car is slower. You can't drive around it all the time, and maybe that is a reason why he is struggling just a little bit. Side by side in the background there, in towards the final hairpin, as once again Wilson almost tries to make a move, but certainly this is backing everyone up, and the tension is going to be increasing behind him.
It is, and it's going to be rising and rising and rising until it gets to maybe a boiling point, and at that point it will erupt potentially into even more carnage and chaos in behind, because you've got so many cars so close together, and the probability of something going wrong is going to increase with each lap, because the drivers are going to get more desperate, they're going to get more keen to go for moves, and now Callum Wilson is forced to go defensive because to the outside comes London. He tries to hang it the long way round going through the right-hander, but Callum Wilson's got it covered, and well, for now he is able to stay in 7th place. But again, coming back to that point, it's overtake or be overtaken.
Certainly is, and these points are crucial as well as ever in the championship. A couple of points here and there might be the difference when we get towards the end of the season. If not those couple of points, it's the cumulative nature of that over the course of the season. Of course, 10 rounds, 3 races a night, so therefore 30 races. If you pick up an extra couple of points every race, that is a lot by the end of the season. Cervic really holding on now in towards the complex, and now the final hairpin is going to be the triple 4 in behind him. Can't find a way past for Wilson. Once again, he gets a really good exit, or at least a good apex, but he can't quite find his way past. Cervic using his hybrid probably to defend down this straight, side by side slightly in the background as well. Mitchell Marm tries to hold on for Cripps. The 2 BMW Richards & Co drivers trying to make moves.
Yeah, but nothing really changing, unfortunately, into turn number 1. Jack London still searching for a move on Wilson, who himself is still searching for a move on Sovic. They've lost so much time to the top 5 fight as, well, everyone is giving their absolute all. We tick over into the second half of race number 2, and this is really where things start to rise and rise and rise, nearly exponentially. The closer you get to the end of the race, the more likely drivers are to go for something maybe a little bit silly, a little bit wide from Scott Sovic, maybe sees Wilson have a bit of a look, and, well, you can see there he's got a sensational run, but nothing really able to happen as they run their way through the next sequence of corners. Is in the background. Well, there we go.
Wow, Cripps there. That is a move you don't always see through the Jim Clark S's. Just out of picture, but he managed to make it work. And there goes Mitchell Marm down in towards 11th place. Amazing move up there. Very committed from the Richards & Co driver and his teammate as well, as we focusing on, is still trying to find his way through Cervic. This is the part where he's a lot quicker through this sequence. In towards final hairpin. Can he finally get a run up the inside? Yes, he can. Huge send, locks up, contact is made. Is Cervic going around? No, he saves it. Jack Nichols out, pushes off London, pushes off Wilson. He goes past. Cripps is coming through 3 wide into the final hairpin. Doesn't work.
Yeah, 3 wide coming out doesn't either, and unfortunately one of them got pushed off in the end. Jack Nichols incredibly aggressive and finds his way into 7th. Will he be able to keep it by the race's end? And after Aidan Millwood has had his say as well, that's something else to keep in consideration. But Jack Nichols, at least for now, is up into 7th and now leads the fight ahead. Well, trying to chase on Scott Sovic. Back to this fight though, because Dan Hurlock and Matt Richards have both been overtaken by Dan Kell, who finds himself into 3rd. So Dan Hurlock really struggling to find a way past Matt Richards. I suppose for Richards, his main priority is to keep Hurlock behind him.
Yeah, awesome race by Kell. This is saving his evening, to be honest, after the disappointing race 1. Of course, no ballast and the option tyres. He is pretty much at full pace that he can do. And in general, he's a fast driver, so he's really making it work. Trying to chase down McGregor, who's in 2nd place as it stands. Lap 9, though, as Richards tries to hold on. Championship battle right on your screens here at Croft. Amazing to see. Defensive line in towards the final hairpin. Hurlock tried to find his way past. He's going to get a later apex, trying to get a better run, but Richards somehow is the defensive masterclass around this track so far today, as Hurlock can't quite find a way through.
I don't think he can. Still going defensive into turn number 1 is Matt Richards. Hurlock searching for the inside, can't quite find it, so goes to the outside, thought of going for the up and under. But Richards once again had that covered as well. So you saw there Hurlock went for it, then realised he couldn't, so had to back out of it again and then make the corner. So Richards is positioning his car in such a good way and making it as wide as possible, so much so that Daniel Hurlock really can't find a way through at all. And into the final third of this race, once again, Richards goes defensive, just planting the car in the middle. And Hurlock is just, there's no answer to it. There's nowhere really you can overtake. If the driver in front knows how to defend, Croft is a very difficult circuit to overtake.
Yeah, one of the harder things here with how the hybrid works, they can use it basically 3 times a lap, but there's only really 3 proper straight sections: out of Tower Bend, out of chicane, and out of the final corner. So if everyone's doing it at the same points, then of course that is not too much. But you could save it for a bit of a burst here up towards the complex. I think that's what we've seen a couple of times so far today. Maybe that's what's caused the issues. Contact between the two in the braking zone once again. Richards just not able to carry the same apex speed, and in towards the final hairpin. Defensive line once again from Richard. Hurlock goes all the way to the outside. He's trying to get a better run, but he can't quite make it down to the apex, and therefore just loses time. 5 laps to go.
Yeah, not long left to go in race number 2 at all, and then we get to do it all over again for race 3 and see what the reverse grid is. You can just look in the background. That's the fight behind Nichols, and well, everyone nice and spaced out, keeping their own thing inside the top 5, and then you have that in behind Nichols. You've got Nichols, Cripps, London. You've then got Mitchell Marm as well. Scott Sovic just about able to stay in the mix there with Wilson. So yeah, plenty of cars, all occupying a very small amount of space, and the potential for things to go wrong is just growing and growing and growing. And well, we've already seen what happens when it tips over the limit.
Yes, crazy races at Croft today, and this is what we love to see though from VMO TCUK, especially when it's this battle here. This has been so far a very clean, very tense battle between the two. Maybe not side-by-side battles all the time, but Hurlock trying to find a place just to get the nose off his RSR car up the inside of the Richards & Co racing driver, but not finding a way through just yet. Richards actually has a bit of a gap this time around. as the RSR car driver drops back a little bit. Cripps on the back of Nichols now. Nichols locks up, coming in towards the complex. That's going to make him slow in towards these final couple of braking zones. Contact between the two again. Cripps, can he dive down the inside? He's going to try, but Nichols knows that. Push him out of the way. That is a bit of a pit maneuver, and up goes the BMW the inside, but Nichols is going to come back.
He's getting his hands dirty, is Callum Cripps, obviously after his small incident a little bit earlier on, is very feisty, and unfortunately it's not quite worked out for him either. He pushed Nichols very wide, so much so that he completely missed the apex by a country mile, and then unfortunately still for him wasn't able to actually get himself past in the end anyway. So Nichols was able to hang on to it despite that, and is in 6th place. So yeah, Cripps not afraid to do the dirty work, I suppose, but yeah, there are definitely cleaner ways to get a move done.
Yeah, that was quite something, and I think potentially giving that place to Nichols, because Nichols was quite a way ahead when we got to that first corner, even though I was expecting him to get a bit of a bad run, being pushed out of the way. So definitely some touring car style love taps coming the way, but when we start seeing pushing out of the way, that is when it starts to get a little bit over the limit. So let's try and keep it clean, boys. Coming in towards the final couple of laps of this race, Nichols holding on, Cripps in behind. He's all up the back of that Infinity, coming through, sunny out. This might be the run that he needs, and yes, it is. Nichols goes, he spins from 6th place, and Cripps goes through, and so does London, Mitchell, Wilson as well. Where is Nichols? He's all in the fields, coming back onto the track.
Yeah, Jack Nichols going for a bit of a Croft safari on the infield section of the circuit there, and well, that I suppose that's the problem with driving the rear-wheel drive car, because again, the rear wheel touched the grass, spun a bit quicker, had that imbalance, and around he went, unfortunately, and yeah, put an end to what could have been again a very, very good race for him. He's going to be hoping that the reverse grid is going to be to the top 12, so much so that he starts on the front row. Could definitely see him maybe getting a podium or even a win if that is the case, but that's a 1 in 6 chance of happening. We've still got Matt Richards and Dan Hurlock fighting it out there in formation throughout the circuit, and have lost so much time to the leaders and are just in their own little pocket of a racetrack here.
I'm so surprised that they've been able to get to this situation, just showing you the massive speed difference between the drivers at the front and the drivers at the mid-pack, especially with how it works with the ballast and everything like that. If you get towards the front and you're feeling good, but Hurlock there touching the grass, he did that last race, spun around, this time he managed to save it, but oh wow, that was a huge moment once again for the RSR driver. He's really fighting for this. He wants to get those extra couple of points ahead of Richards in the championship.
He's fighting for every single thing that he possibly can, and even if that means losing points to O'Leary, McGregor and Kell, he knows his main fight is with Hurlock, and he's doing everything in his power to prevent him from finishing in front and closing the gap, which fair play to him, because he knows Hurlock is one of his biggest threats, if not the biggest threat. On to the penultimate lap of this race, like 14-15. Matt Richards, well, at some point the defences have to crumble. Surely Hurlock's going to at least have a look at some point in this race.
Oh, I don't know, he's pushing too hard. He's actually losing time over the last half a lap, and that's giving Richards a really nice clean run with 1 3/4 laps to go in this second race of the evening. Of course, we still got the reverse grid race. We have the spinny wheel after this race to work out the reverse grid position between 6 and 12. So it might be one of these drivers, Scott Cervic, he might just get the reverse grid pole if he can keep himself inside the top 12, and it is that number chosen. A little bit in behind, he's got Leppert and Haley side by side coming out of the chicane down towards Tower Bend. Who will be on top as you get towards the braking zone? Looks like Haley in that Honda on the outside is going to be able to make it. Can Leppert do anything on the inside there? Maybe a bit of contact. No, there isn't. Leppert holds on though.
He does. He's done a really good job of hanging on, and well, what a battle this has proved to be for so long. I mean, these guys fighting up and down the field, and yeah, just goes to show that no matter where you are on the grid, you are always going to have a fantastic level of competition, so much so that you are going to be forced to push to your absolute limits. Leppert still on the defensive from Stephen Haley there, basically matched as they exit, but still no way through, at least for now, for the Honda Civic driver of Haley and Leppert, able to, for now, hang on for 12th. But the more they fight, the more time they lose to the fight for 10th, with Jack Nichols maybe under a little bit of pressure from Scott Cervic.
Yeah, definitely a couple of positions to be had as we come on to the final lap of the race. Yellow's in Sector 3, more cars around, and once again we had so many DNS from this race. Mitchell, Munro, Elliott, Willis, Blumshine, Hartley's a lap down. That's big for Munro and Elliott as well. They're high up in the championship. as it stands. They'll be losing some serious points. This time around, Monroe is in 4th place, and Elliott in 10th place in the standings, winning the previous race 3 at Brands Indy, and on to lap 15 of 15. Cervic there in P11, and I don't think he's going to be able to do anything on Nichols for that top 10 as it stands, but it's Thomas O'Leary leading the way by 1 second at the front from Ross McGregor.
Yeah, Thomas O'Leary has really taken this race, by the throat, and has just run away with it as much as he can. McGregor's been close, but not quite close enough really to put much pressure on. And yeah, as I say, Thomas O'Leary, like I said at the start of the race, when he's in his mood, when he's in his zone, when he's motivated for a win, going off the back of that race 1 win, he just said, yeah, this is mine. And, well, here he comes.
And we don't often see this, but 2 race victories in a row, even including the ballast. Great driving from Thomas O'Leary. 3rd place in the championship. He is coming for some points today. Ross McGregor in 2nd place. Dan Kell from 12th place up to 3rd. He's going to be absolutely loving that one. Matt Richards holds on for 4th. Dan Herlock in 5th. Cripps and London get their 6th and 7th places. Mitchell Marm in 8th, but all sorts of scenes in behind as we see the battles continue through the final hairpin. Haley just about overtake Leppit there for that battle. Crazy things happening here today at Croft. And once again, Zach, it just continues, and we still have 1 race to go.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that final race, let's put it that way, because if it's anything like the first 2, then we're in for a lot of fun, fighting up and down the field. And well, Thomas O'Leary really deserving his victory there, and well, 2 wins in 1 night. He is definitely not going to be shying away from that. And well, let's see what the reverse grid is going to be for race 3, and well, we'll go again.
Certainly will. But before we get to the spinning wheel, let's get the results of that second race. Thomas O'Leary after 15 laps from Ross McGregor, and then Dan Kell in 3rd place. Matt Richards is in 4th. Daniel Herlock in 5th place. Cripps, London, Mitchell Marm, Callum Wilson and Jack Nichols round out a crazy top 10 with all these battles. Scott Cervic from 2nd place down into 11th. He'll be a bit disappointed with that one. Stephen Haley, Leppit, Phil Garside, Anthony Hilton and Phil Morby round out your top 15. Adam Christopher Churgwin and multiple other drivers there finishing off this second race, and definitely once again not quite the standard of racing that we would hope. 5 DNFs in the end, as we were mentioning, the big names of Monroe and Ryan Elliott, race winners and podium place winners as well, but unfortunately coming a cropper to Croft. Here's the spinny wheel though, P6 to P12. Who is going to be getting the reverse grid pole? That is what we are here to find out, and it is going to be top 6. That is going to be a very tricky one for some of these drivers. We'll be hoping that it's P12, but as it stands, that's going to be Callum Cripps on pole position.
Wow, bring it on. Race number 3, here we go.
Certainly indeed. So we'll be back in a few minutes. We'll be bringing you through the action for this race 3 reverse grid race for round 6 of the TCUK 2023 here at Croft. And welcome back to Croft. The first two races of the evening have been absolutely hectic, and I cannot wait to see the stewarding report list after this one. But we do have one final race to go. And here is the grid. Callum Cripps gets your reverse grid pole position. Dan Herlock alongside him. Championship leader Matt Richards just in behind with Dan Kell, your pole position man earlier, and podium place driver in fourth place. Ross McGregor and Thomas O'Leary round out the reverse places before we look at the results for race 2. Jack London and Scott Mitchell-Marm rounding out your top 8 places on the grid. Callum Wilson in P9 with Jack Nichols for Kings Racing in P10. Scott Cervic in P11 and Stephen Haley, who's having a pretty decent round today, up there in P12 for DMA. Phil Garside in 13th place, Anthony Hilton in 14th, Phil Morby 15th, and Adam Christopher on a debut today for Quatermass in 16th place in the Cupra. Matthew Chogrin in 17th place, Johannes Leppert in 18th, Adam Logg 19th, and Louis Hartley rounding out your top 20 for TR, powered by Geeks Energy. Tobias Blumschi, not the evening that he would have wanted, down in 21st place. Ben Willis and Ryan Elliott, John Munro rounding out your top 24. A couple of drivers down there you would really expect to be higher up. In the final places on the grid, Luke Mitchell and Matt Allington on debut today for YTF Racing, not having the best day that he would have wanted. Let's hope he can have a final few rounds, a strong final few rounds of the season. But Zach, 15 laps to go tonight at Croft. What are you expecting? It's been absolutely crazy so far.
It has been incredibly crazy. A lot of fun to witness because, again, we've got no influence over what's been going on track. We've got no way of predicting it. We've got no way of knowing what's coming. We've got absolutely zero control. We just have to sit here and just bear witness to it. And these guys are doing all the talking on track. And wow, it's been an interesting display. Let's put it that way. Definitely up there in terms of rounds this season. And well, we get to do it for 15 more laps of racing. Top 6 reverse grid, of course, from race 2. Yeah, bring it on.
Yeah, Croft has been quite something. But what is going to happen in the final round of the day, final race of round 6 for TCUK 2023, powered by VCO, of course, thanks to Simply Racing and Pixelate Liveries as well for coming on board this season. Matt Allington lines up, but it'll be Cripps and Herlock on the front row, Richards and Kell in behind. You've got your championship rivals. Who is going to get the run up towards the first? Is going to be Herlock from second place, potentially getting the run. He's on the racing line in towards turn number 1. Cripps already losing the place, I think, as we come down side by side. Matt Richards around the outside of turn 1. Is he going to try it as well? No, he's going to slot into third place. Dan Kell, though, on the inside in towards turn 2, has to back out of that one. He made Matt Richards scare himself in towards turn 2, though, but it looks like we're single file in the back.
Yeah, I think everyone's settled down going through into the chicane because, well, that is essentially the only thing you can get away with, and even that is on the limit, essentially. But Dan Herlock leading the way. That's wide there from just ahead of Matt Allington. Rejoining the circuit is the Rocket Simsport car and the YTF Racing, making some very abrupt manoeuvres in order to avoid any contact. Single file for the majority of the top 10. They run their way through the left into the right. and Thomas O'Leary not being able to really make much progress forward. The race 2 winner, not really able to get himself inside the top 5, but plenty of racing yet to come.
Absolutely, 14 and a bit laps to go. It is going to be one hell of a ride. I would expect his drivers down the way, all swapping over positions. Definitely something happening, potentially something else a bit further back. Oh yes, it is Tobias Blumschein. He was the one dropping down and making the tower go a bit crazy at the bottom there. He's not had the night that he would have wanted. Dan Kell off the final corner gets a bit of a run, but once again Richard seems to get that drive in second, third gear out of that final corner. Dan Kell though all up his rear bumper, goes to the left-hand side in towards the first braking zone. Richards covers him off, but in behind, is it going to be O'Leary making the move on McGregor? No, can't quite find a way past. Of course, these top 6 being reversed, which means also the success ballast follows that as well. So O'Leary with the most weight in it. It's coming through turn 2 on that in the previous lap though. Where is the contact going to be? Oh, it looks like it's at Munro, I think it was, dropping down. So there goes his teammate coming past. Absolutely not what Munro would have wanted. He's been in the grass every race so far.
Yeah, which has really not been his day. It started off bad, of course, with that 5-place grid penalty from qualifying, from last round coming into qualifying, and then it's just been downhill. He even came into the YouTube chat to say it's not really been his day. We take another look. This was Tobias Blumschein on the back, maybe of either Nichols or Mitchell, and well, there's a 720, 1080. Oh, nice. 3 spins, and then hits the barrier and continues on. Then he's joined by someone else as well, just ahead of him. So yeah, plenty of carnage and plenty of spins, and a lot of it is happening down at that corner.
Yeah, that was a bit of a combo bonus there for all of the special moves that he was putting in, but unfortunately that does not give you the points in TCUK. It is winning the races, and so far as Dan Herlog, awesome launch, leading the way in a 20.6 fastest lap of the race as well, trying to pull away and stretch the gap at the front. That is really not a bad time indeed. Cripps is trying to follow him in though, and trying to do his teammate a favour, of course, as we're mentioning Herlock and Richards, championship rivals. Cripps, teammate of Richards, can get involved and take points away from the RSR driver.
He can, but he's got to pick his way forwards, get ahead of him first if he wants to take some points away. But there is still, 12 and a bit laps left to go this race, so plenty of time in order for him to do it. The fight here as well, Stephen Haley under a bit of pressure from the team at Garnica of Phil Morby, and look at how close he is to the rear end of that Honda Civic, going through the left and into the next braking zone. Not quite able to get close enough, I don't think. A lot of understeer, in all fairness to him, really using the majority of the circuit on his way in. And look at Stephen Haley all over the track in terms of the braking zone. So yeah, the comfortability under brakes is not quite there in some of these cars.
Yeah, we've definitely seen a lot of drivers making mistakes in the braking zones today. Don't know if it's specifically this track or I'm just having a couple of issues. It's certainly a tricky one. There's no easy corner around this Croft circuit, and there's quite a few unique ones as well. It's really an old airfield, of course, turned into race circuit. Probably about 80 years ago now, such as time does fly, and it's certainly one of the older ones in the country, and certainly enjoying that. There's a car a bit slow in the background off that final corner. Didn't quite see who it was, but at least someone offline out of that final corner. Can't see anyone dropping down the way, so it might just be defensive driving. I see Dan Kell's dropped down the field quite a lot. He's in P15 place. Ryan Elliott up towards 14th place as well, so definitely some movers there in the midfield. But as it stands, we're just seeing this lead being stretched and really opening up the battle in the top 10.
Yeah, it's not quite been as chaotic in the opening stages amongst the top 10, but you know, touch wood, never say never, because yeah, that's what we said at the start of race 1, and that's what we said at the start of race 2, and look what happened. So yeah, I'm sure there's still plenty to come, but yeah, it has been stretched rather thin in terms of battles. I mean, the two leaders are close, and Richards just sort of, I mean, he's on the back of him ever so slightly, but then McGregor's about a second and a bit back, O'Leary on the back of him there. So I suppose they're just, you know, in their own little couples, I suppose, you know, spread across the top 10, and then of course you've got a bit of a pack behind to round it off all the way back to Scott Sovic. But yeah, in front of him, not really much happening apart from Thomas O'Leary looking to go to the outside of Ross McGregor. No way through for now, but despite the fact he's carrying a lot of ballast and is now back onto a harder compounded tyre, Thomas O'Leary is not shying away from some good battles.
He certainly isn't. Matt Richards, though, with the fastest lap of the race, so still in that third place. It is not over for the race victory. The race is definitely long enough to chase down a driver, you can definitely sort of work your way a few tenths up at a time. The gaps aren't that big. And then behind, we've seen the two Kings racing cars getting close. They've been close all night. Scott Mitchell 7th place, Jack Nichols in 9th, and separated by Wilson in that 8th place. Coming down towards Tower Bend, and O'Leary, he's had such a strong evening so far, getting a couple of race victories. That is something that we really do not see, being able to hold on with that weight ballast in the middle race, and now trying to chase down McGregor. But McGregor, less ballast in that car, and he's also been looking fast this evening.
He has been, and once again it's proving that here in race number 3. I mean, yeah, it's not quite been a race win or anything like that. I mean, I think he was on the top 2 rows in qualifying, so definitely has got the pace, and is proving that. But yeah, it's not quite been able to string together properly for McGregor so far. He's going to be hoping for that to change. Maybe the top 3 to battle quite hard and to bring him back into contention so he can fight for the podium. But that's going to take a mutual effort from both himself and Thomas O'Leary to hold their horses for their battle and just wait and see what can happen in front. Because, well, at the moment, maybe it's 2.5 seconds onto the back of Matt Richards. That is going to very quickly close if he begins to fight with Cripps.
Yeah, we need to see how it unfolds. But for McGregor, until this moment, before this evening, he only had 1 podium to his name, which was the second race of the evening. That is a huge off there. A little bit further up is that Cripps potentially going off. Richards is up into 2nd place, up towards the front of the field. So Richards is starting to come back at Herlock in this final race of the evening. I'm not sure if that was Cripps making a mistake or if Richards just is the faster driver out of the teammates.
Maybe so. It wouldn't, be a massive surprise. Cripps is a very, very quick driver. Look, Mitchell actually trying to get the up and under and move his way past Dankel, who, it's Phil Garside he's fighting with. Dankel about a couple of seconds up the road. But talking of Dankel, actually, down in 15th place. I mean, yes, he's been plagued by wheel issues, but yeah, not the place I'd expect to be seeing him.
Yeah, I definitely think that issues further. Talking about issues though, Matt Richards, he is dropping down 8th place now. Your championship leader has gone off. This is going to be some huge points difference to Dan Herlock up in the lead of this race. I wonder if that was a mistake by himself. He was getting close to Herlock, but there was still a bit of a gap there. So maybe finally the championship leader makes a mistake this season. He's been flawless pretty much from start to finish, but oh yes, it was a bit of a mistake. Had a bit of a slide there, goes wide on the exit of Sunny out, just like Jack Nichols, over the bumps, goes for a spin, and that is multiple spins around, somehow ends up facing the right way. Yeah,
1080 again, similar to what we saw a little bit earlier on, I think, from Bloomsheen. So yeah, he points the right way, continues on, and has emerged about a second or so back on Stephen Haley for the top 10. But yeah, finally we've seen a crack in the defences of Richards, and it's been an up and down evening, I suppose, for Dan Herlock. But at the moment, he's looking to end it off on a win and looking to close the gap to Matt Richards in the championship. And well, taking the win while Richards is in 11th is going to, at the very least, sort of stabilise the gap here in Croft after maybe losing points in the first 2 races of the evening. As Scott Sovic himself goes for a spin, 1, 2, and he does exactly the same thing. It seems that multiple spins are the norm here.
Yeah, it's such a difficult circuit. You drop a wheel and these cars are going around side by side, a little bit behind. We're seeing Wilson and London side by side through the complex in towards the final corner now. Can Wilson complete the move after 3 or 4 turns side by side? Looks like he can. Amazing move there. London down to 6th, Wilson up to 5th.
Wow, beautiful stuff from Wilson, and that makes it 2 BMWs inside the top 5, so definitely showing that the BMW is one of the quicker cars, at least around Croft, making the most of the rear-wheel drive drivetrain. Jack London still in contention, however, has got Jack Nichols for company. London and Nichols have really given each other a good fight throughout the course of the evening, but well, Nichols trying to maybe finally get some return on the investment of being so quick around Croft, because his pace has been there, and unfortunately the results haven't quite been able to show it as of yet.
Yeah, he hasn't been able to finish the job. And the execution part, of course, is the important factor. You could be the fastest driver, you get the fastest lap every race, but if you are not getting the actual race results, you're not going to be winning championship or getting any sort of good points. But here is Nichols now on the back of London, getting closer and closer. Nichols, such a strong evening of racing as the drivers go all over the grass. It's sunning out. Definitely a tricky part of the track today. We've seen a lot of drivers going off there as they start to push their way through the mid part of this race 3.
Yeah, with only a handful of laps left to go in terms of the evening. Lap 8 of 15 already. These races do fly by in quick succession. I suppose that's the point of more of a sprint format, but you can see in the background there as well, the fight continues. And well, Luke Mitchell still trying to maybe close the gap to Dan Kelly as best he can, but what we've got here is a brilliant battle going on between Jack London and Jack Nichols. The fight for 6th, looking for the up and under. Nichols goes for it, gets given a little bit of space through the chicane, tries to go for the double switchback, but not quite able to. Jack London hangs on around the outside.
Oh, this is getting close between these drivers. He unfortunately drops back, but I think he will be able to get back up there. But for the race lead, Cripps now, he dropped back into 3rd place. His teammate vacated that position, and now is a one-on-one battle. Cripps versus Herlock. Herlock leading the way from the start. He got that launch, got into 1st place, but now is having to defend. He's been a bit wobbly, a bit all over the place so far this evening. He's been off the track multiple times, but can he get this race victory? As it stands, he's going to be gaining a lot of points back to Richards. But coming through the complex, he goes wide, he gets onto the grass just like he's done before, and Cripps goes through for the race lead.
Yeah, still plenty of race left to go and plenty of opportunity for Herlock to maybe to go on a counter-attack, but a huge mistake, and Cripps ate that up and said thank you very much, was not going to waste that opportunity, and well, finds himself now leading the way. Cut back to this fight though, Thomas O'Leary has taken 2 of the 3 victories so far this evening, and finds himself once again trying to stay inside the top 5 and score some really strong points tonight. Thomas O'Leary, of course, has been doing decent in terms of the championship, in 3rd place, however 33 points off Dan Herlock, and therefore about 62 off Matt Richards. But I suppose if he is trying to maybe re-spark something in terms of the championship, taking 2 wins of the 3 and then still being inside the top 5 is definitely one way of doing it.
Oh yeah, O'Leary is really putting himself forward to at least confirm, say, a 3rd place in the championship. Herlock and Richards may be a bit too far, but a 3rd place would still be very respectable in such a highly contested league, and where it's so difficult to get the top results. Wilson, once again, is all over the back of McGregor. He's sat there for a while though, hasn't been able to find a way past them. For Cripps, for Herlock I should say, as it stands in 2nd place, 17 points. Richards down in 8th place is 8 points. That's a 9-point advantage to his way. That'll be very good indeed. McGregor now having to defend though from Wilson. Up the back of him, contact being made through the complex around the outside. We don't often see this. More contact being made as a BMW gets the Toyota into front hairpin with more contact, and here comes O'Leary to make it 2 for 2 out of the final corner. Yeah, he gets a good run as well, which is not something you often see, with a bit of a send to the inside of the hairpin. They are going to have a drag race towards turn number 1. You can see the Rocket Sim Sport car trying to hang on. McGregor has the inside line, but what can Thomas O'Leary do? The long way around, not quite going to pay off for him, but Wilson able to secure 3rd place. Brilliant bit of racing between the 2 of them, and nearly a perfect opportunistic move there from Thomas O'Leary. And, well, Wilson has not wasted any time in clearing off. Yeah, what O'Leary did there was not only giving himself the opportunity, but always this, we'll come back to it in a second though, 3 wide in towards turn 1, Mitchell round the outside, makes contact with Morby, more contact, and Mitchell once again is into the barrier today. He's had so many little issues so far, and unfortunately that is another one. Scott Servick is there involved as well. He goes off into the grass. Ben Willis is having a bit of a slow exit, and side by side now Hartley trying to get through. Adam Locke makes it 3 wide down towards Tower Bend. Who is going to come out on top, because they are side by side still? Ben Willis on the outside. That is going to be as Hartley pushes him wide. They try and get the run up towards Jim Clark. Yeah, continuing to go side by side as well, waiting for a good opportunity as well. You can see just in behind is Locke as Wills tries to go for the up and under, but there's contact once again. And look there, to the inside goes Locke. He's going to thread the needle through, have the inside line. Wills has got the upside of that red and black BMW. He's able to hang on, but oh my goodness me. Now Louis Hartley gets the up and under, forces the gap open, and still running side by side. He's got Sovic as well, trying to pick a line, trying to commit some place through in order to find a gap, and continue
continuing to go side by side. Louis Hartley not giving this up without a fight, as the fight for fourth as well continues on.
Oh yes, side by side through through Hawthorns, I should say, as that continues through up towards the chicane. McGregor fourth place. There's going to be Nichols and O'Leary battling that out. That is getting very close for that fourth place, as we just have 4 laps to go remaining in this race. And lower down, that battle continues, but the drivers are spreading out. But what is that bit of a sink from Scott Servig after amazing first race, now down in 18th place?
Yeah, he's just been falling backwards, really. I mean, starting from the front of race 2 and then tumbled down. I don't know what's been causing it. I think maybe just losing rhythm too quickly, maybe not quite having the race pace, but his potential definitely is there. We now follow Jack Nichols as he's got Thomas O'Leary now finding his way past. A very easy move, a bit of a tap maybe to send Nichols wide, but O'Leary again finds his way up now inside the top 5, and Matt Richards looking to the inside of Jack London. Bit of a slide as well from the championship leader, trying to make the most of his recovery and score as many points as he possibly can in this race to limit the closure that Dan Hurlock is going to get in race 3.
Yeah, if he can get these 4 extra positions, that's going to be an extra 5 points for him, which could be very big in that battle with Hurlock by the time we get towards the end of the season. So definitely look out for that Richardson co-driver to be making some moves in the final 3 laps of the evening here at Croft. It has been an eventful one. There's been a lot of contact. There's been a lot of spins for individual drivers as well. It's been pretty crazy, to be honest. And let's see how this one finishes. Matt Richards trying to get the run now on the back of London down towards Tower Bend. Can he make a move up the inside? He's going to have to be decisive. He's going to have to be late, and he does so up the inside. The space is left for him up the inside, and he makes it stick just about on the exit. London can't hold on.
Yeah, he's not quite been able to. But again, still a couple of laps to go, so we might still see something yet from the Ford driver to maybe spark himself back into contention. You can see there Thomas O'Leary getting a little bit argy-bargy with Ross McGregor. Once again, the fight for fourth as Wilson has taken off and left these guys in the dust to fight for the scraps of fourth place. O'Leary there on the left-hand side of your screen. That's the right-hand side of the circuit. It's the long way round. Ross McGregor gives him the space. It's the inside line once again for the Civic. The 59 machine now once again has the outside line as they run their way in towards the final corner of the hairpin. Is he going to go for the switchback? No, he's not. He's got to be so careful though, because Nichols tries to get the run and unfortunately not quite able to find a way past.
Can McGregor hold on for 2 more laps? Look at the drivers lining up behind him, trying to take that 4th place away. The top 3 have absolutely gone up the road, and it is now the 4th place is the highest that they can all get in this time span. O'Leary, he's had a couple of wins. Can he make it? All top 4s throughout this event here at Croft. He's been trying the whole race, this race 3. He's been trying, but he can't quite find his way past. Richards actually was getting pretty close to Nichols, coming down towards town. Maybe use some of the hybrid around the outside is going to have to be. The 2 drivers continue to be side by side. Bit of contact between the 2. We know Nichols likes to race hard. And up towards Jim Clark. Is Richards going to have to just about back out of it? No, he's going to keep it in there. Side by side between the 2. Round the outside of the King's Racing driver. Contact is made and Nichols loses the place.
Yeah, he's fallen victim once again and falling back into 7th place. A bit of a lock-up once again, so London may be looking for a way through soon as well. But yeah, Nichols very aggressive on the inside, bit of contact, nearly sent him sideways, spearing off into the barrier, but he's able to hang on to it. Now with just over a lap to go, Jack London looking very threatening in the rear-view mirror of the Infinity. But has he got the line maybe into the hairpin? Not quite close enough on this occasion, but look at this, we've got 5 cars still all within contention of 4th place and 1 lap to go.
Last lap time, last lap of the evening, side by side up towards turn 1. Can O'Leary make it? He's making McGregor think about it, at least in towards the first braking zone of the lap. That is one done, just a few more to go, a couple of kilometres. McGregor goes wide though. O'Leary's going to take advantage up the inside in towards the chicane. No way McGregor's going to be able to hold that on the outside, and Richards is going to absolutely love this one up the inside as well. He gets O'Leary. McGregor cuts the chicane, holds on to both of those places. He's going to have to give that back. And so we're going to see Richards get up. Oh, huge contact. Nichols in towards the barrier. He goes off. What's happened there?
Yeah, he's just then spearing off. He's lost the rear wing and has lost his chance of any good position in this race. And once again, 3 races in a row, it's been great potential for Nichols, and unfortunately not a very good delivery. Whatever happened just there, he's not going to be very happy about it. Not long left to go in this race, of course, between Callum Cripps and Dan Hurlock, and I think Cripps is just about going to hang on to it.
Herlock led for such a long time. He got the lead in turn 1, but it was Cripps in the end who managed to make the overtake and get in front. And Cripps takes the race lead and the race victory here for race 3 of 2023. Croft round 6 for TCUK. Herlock in second place, Wilson in third, and Richards will take fourth place after an amazing final couple of laps, making up 4 places and really recovering some good points for the championship. Thomas O'Leary, amazing evening from him in 5th place. McGregor will take 6th from London in 7th place. Ryan Elliott will recover to 8th place. That's amazing for him considering he was right at the back after race 1. And the final couple of drivers come out the final corner, including Scott Cervic, after a 2nd place in race 1, will get 15th to finish the evening.
And the worst result, of course, for Sovic, but with his pace, he definitely would have wanted more. This is Jack Nichols. He unfortunately did not have the best of races whatsoever, running his way a little bit wide. This is, of course, with his fight that he saw a little bit earlier on. There's McGregor going slow, and that is the contact that caused him going off. Just the car in front going slower than he expected.
Yeah, Nichols also kinked to the right. I think that might have been in an overtaking opportunity as well, but just slightly misjudged it. O'Leary is trying to keep it safe with the whole situation with McGregor going up. And yeah, that was certainly pretty messy coming into the first few corners of the lap. And you see there the massive tyre barriers just in the background covering off that chicane, making it so difficult. But here's your results for the final race of the evening. Cripps and Herlock taking the 1-2 with Wilson and Richards in behind. So 3 Richards and co up in the top 4. I think that's probably the first time this season where they've all had a good race at the same time. O'Leary in 5th, McGregor in 6th place. London Elliott's round out your top 8. Haley and Mum rounding out your top 10. And it's, of course, been an incredible 45 laps of action. And Anthony Hilton will get P11 like he got in the first race of the evening. Churgwin in 12th place. Garside and Willis in 13th, 14th. Scott Cervic in 15th with Adam Locke in 16th place. Jack Nichols will, I think, get 17th in the end, but looks like Louis Hartley is getting that as well, with Morby and Leppit there rounding out the second page of results. And onto the final page, you've got Allington and being the final car to finish with the DNFs of this race being Mitchell, Christopher, Dan Kell, Blumsheen and Munro. So big day for Munro, losing loads of points in the championship. Rocket Sim Sport as well, not having a good day. Dan Kell from 6th place in the championship, he lost points. So Zach, this was a very crucial evening for the championship, and I think the standings are going to look quite different next or a couple of weeks time when we get to Knockhill.
Yeah, they're going to be interesting. I think I'm looking forward to seeing exactly what the gap is, because Matt Richards had not a standout week, but a couple of good results. Herlock, his pace was there and it was very, very strong, but again, not quite able really to deliver on it. So maybe it's balanced that a little bit. Maybe Herlock's closed the gap. Maybe Richards has been able to open it a little bit more. But yeah, it's still very much wide open into the tail end of the season.
So Herlock gained 4 points in that race. In the previous one, he lost 2, so that's a net 2. And I'm trying to remember race 1, and I think they were pretty close as well, but Richards was ahead. So I think Richards overall, I think the gap might be basically the same, which is okay, but we still have 4 rounds left. We've got Knockhill, Donington, Silverstone and Brandsack. So what are you expecting coming into those final 4 rounds?
Well, more of the same, probably, from what we've seen here at Croft. People chucking moves down the inside, leaving absolutely nothing on the table, and, well, just pushing the limits as far as they can. And sometimes, yeah, we're going to go over them ever so slightly, but would rather them, push too hard or not push at all. And, yeah, fingers crossed for a barnstorming end to the season. And, well, hopefully there can be a little bit more of a fight in the championship, because while Richards and Herlock are going toe-to-toe, we need a bit more of a discrepancy between the two, just so Herlock can reclose the gap, and then it starts to mean something like a little bit more.
And next race specifically, we get to Knockhill, which is, of course, one of the tightest tracks on the calendar. It's going to be so difficult to overtake. But we do actually have a couple of drivers to come and speak to. So there is your schedule on the screen, but I will drag in Callum Cripps, of course, winning the race there, the race number 3. An amazing battle with Dan Herlock, and in the end, you managed to come out on top. So, Callum, how are you feeling after that race?
Oh, it was a bit of a roller coaster, really, wasn't it? Yeah, it was, I don't know what it's up with my starts at the moment. Everybody seems to just get better starts than me, so I've just got to work on that. But yeah, I'm nearly threw it away. So, and then Matt spun in sympathy, so that was nice of him. And then, yeah, I just had to wait for Dan to make a mistake really, because he was so fast, even on the mediums. It was just, he was really, really fast. So fair play to him. But yeah, kept it clean. Just waited for a mistake, and I made a few as well, a few lockups, and yeah, it's been up and down night compared to what happened in race 1, where I potentially could have won that race. But yeah, so yeah, had to make a lot of moves in race 2, but it was really good evening.
And how is your season going? Of course, we're 6 rounds into this. We've got 4 to go. Coming into this round, you were 5th in the championship. How have you been feeling? Of course, you've had a couple of ups and downs so far.
Yeah, definitely. I think I've had a good spell of bad luck really over the season, to be fair. So I'm hoping this back end of the season I should get clear of that. But it's just been through, like little incidents like race 2 at Oulton where I got turned round and stuff like that. So yeah, I could have potentially won, 2 or 3 races by now. But yeah, finally got the first win, which is nice. So yeah, very happy about it.
Yeah, congratulations, Callum, and thanks for speaking to us. And hopefully we'll see you again in the final 4 rounds.
Yeah, definitely. I'm in for the full season. So yeah, thank you very much.
Good stuff. And we'll now bring in Dan Herlock, and second place in the championship. Coming into this, you had an absolutely insane night of racing. You were on the grass a few times, had a massive battle with your championship rival Matt Richards as well. And in the end, second place for that final race. Just how did that go from your point of view?
Yeah, I mean, the whole grass incident, that wasn't ideal. But yeah, considering we had to build a new setup in very short time that race, because our old one would just spit us off into the grass constantly. So it's not too bad. It was faster than I was expecting, to be honest. But yeah, I guess with Matt doing his little pirouette in race 3, it's not too bad, points wise anyway.
Yeah, it's not the championship's not been going too badly for you, and actually coming into this event, you were tied with Matt Richard on the wins for the season. You're 4 apiece coming into tonight. And what do you think you can do coming into the final round? You've got 4 rounds left of the season. Of course, you unfortunately missed Snetterton, so you lost a few points there. But do you think you can grab those extra points to at least challenge Matt coming into Brands GP to finish the season?
Yeah, hopefully. Missing Snetterton obviously wasn't the plan, as I had to be rushed to hospital that day. But the goal is to catch that very stubborn defending Mr. Richards, who is very fast as well. So it's going to be difficult, but we'll do our best to put on a show at least.
Yeah, we've been enjoying it so far. So good luck for the final few rounds.
Yes.
And lastly, we'll bring in Matt Richards, of course, championship leader. For once, actually, you made a bit of a mistake today, or a couple of mistakes, Matt. It was a little bit of a tricky evening for you. Just how was that for you?
Yeah, not too bad. As Dan pointed out, the change in a few of the physics meant that we had to build a few different bits into the setup just to consolidate a few things. But there was still a few little bits left in, and unfortunately caught me out. Yeah, sent me for a little bit of a pirouette, as it was named. Yeah, decent evening. Gained points on Dan in race 1 and 2, lost it all in race 3. But just trying to keep the gap that we've got, and just build it forward.
And looking forward to Knockhill, of course, an even more tight and twisty, tense track to race at. How are you looking forward to that, or not, just with sort of the nature of that circuit?
It's going to be a tough one. The RSR boys have definitely got an advantage on us on the setup. There's something that they found that we're still sort of picking our brains on finding at the moment, but we're making what we have work. So if we can just find a few little things, the curbs are a big problem for us at the moment, and Knockhill is it's all one big curb. So, trying to fix that and just make sure that we're stable for the races, and more importantly quick, so that we can keep beating those RSR boys.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, good luck for the final few races, final 4 rounds of the season.
Thank you.
So that concludes round 6 here at Croft. It's certainly been a hectic evening of races. 4 races to go, including, of course, Knockhill in just 2 weeks' time. Myself, Cameron Roger and Zach Sini will be back in the commentary box. And, of course, we want to just say a big thank you once again to our partners at VCO, Simply Race and Pixelate Liveries. But there it is, 30th of August. We'll be back for Knockhill. 24 laps each race. It's going to be quite a spectacle once again. But that concludes here from Croft. And until next time, we thank you for watching and goodbye.